Let me get my big cheeseburger.
Okay, we are now live on YouTube.
There's a little feedback on there.
It's the trance music.
I'm going to start us live. Right now we're in practice mode. I'm going to put us in broadcast, so our Zoom will be live. Raul, we said we're going to start at 5:30, so we're just going to kind of have it open for like 4 or 5 minutes in case.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you going to stay in frame?
Here's me. They're not going to see you, and I'm going to stay right here.
Right, we got to see this part early.
They're seeing it right now, as of 25 seconds ago. We have 3 watchers on YouTube. I'm just watching participants coming in. Everybody, I see we have 68 of us so far. We're going to start this out at 5:30 on the dot. Sit tight until then.
This is slow. I got 81 on it.
We have a message that says, "You are IT rock stars." Thank you. Take that. I'm watching our YouTube stream at the same time here. We got people coming in there. Looking good.
David, we got a compliment on your music.
Nice. I'm reading it right now. Let's see. Nice music from the 90s. Well, we're 90s era here, right? This is where it's at.
I don't know. I was in the 90s. I don't remember this.
It's kind of when synth came out. That's when it got big. The modulator thing grew right after grunge and all that. Wow, okay, we just hit 100 attendees. Very cool. We got a minute and a half left and we'll start this thing, everybody.
We got a request for another song.
I have it, so we have at least 4 hours of song. Spotify's rocking here.
4 hours straight of this song, particularly right here.
They all sound the same, doesn't matter.
Giant loop.
Can they see any of us right now?
It's
Yeah,
awesome with music.
It's live. They can see it.
They just,
We're on.
they just can't hear us yet.
No, they could hear
Okay,
us.
they could
We're
hear us.
fully up right now.
We can see and hear you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nothing to hide, Miss Dobbins. Nothing to hide.
We're live. We are live. All right. Well, I got 5:30. Raul, do you want to start us out here?
Yeah, give me a second.
All right.
Okay, there we go. Well, good evening. We're starting, right?
We are on.
Okay, here we go. Good
Live.
evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us and taking the time out of your busy day to join our panel. I'm Raul Rico. I'm the Director of Admissions at Palma, and I hope that you are excited as we are to begin this new academic school year. We have been working hard this summer to ensure that the chieftains have a great learning experience and a successful academic year. If it has to be distance, which it is, Palma is committed to making eSchool the best it can be. Mr. David Cunha, our IT director, is here with us, making sure that everything goes smoothly and playing the jams, as you could hear. And, and as is tradition here at Palma, we will begin this webinar with a prayer. We also have a tradition where after our prayer, especially for any of the young chieftains that are new to Palma that are here with us today, is we always end after our prayer and we always say, Blessed Edmund Rice, and then we respond, pray for us, and then live Jesus in our hearts, and we say forever. So I ask that you in your house, after we end our prayer, if you could follow me in reciting that, okay? I thought that being the beginning of the school year, it would be great to do the prayer of the founder of the Christian Brothers, right here, Blessed Edmund Rice. So I will go ahead and read his prayer. So in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Amen. Oh God, we thank you for the life of Edmund Rice. He opened his heart to Christ, present in those oppressed by poverty and injustice. May we follow his example of faith and generosity. Grant us the courage and compassion of Edmund as we seek to live lives of love and service. We ask this to Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Blessed Edmund Rice.
Pray for us.
Pray for us. Live Jesus in our hearts forever.
Forever.
Okay.
Amen.
So we've made some phone calls during the last couple of days. Well, last week we called every single family, and from those phone call surveys, we have gathered a number of frequently asked questions. So that is what we will start off with today. But if you have any additional questions that you weren't able to ask when we called you or weren't able to send us an email with them, please look at the Zoom Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. Please go ahead and use that and ask us any questions that you may have. And then I will go ahead and read it over to the panelists, okay? So please do that. If everybody can go down to the bottom, it's a little bit different than the chat feature you're using now. So go ahead and go to the Q&A box, click on that one, and that is where you will be typing in your question, okay? So now, without further ado, we're gonna jump right into the questions. So the very first question that we have that was asked quite frequently, I think Mr. Dahlman, if you could go ahead and take this one, please, is as a new family, how will my son be accepted into a new school in a distance learning environment?
Thanks, Mr. Rico. A great question. Before I answer that, just once again, I'm Chris Dahlman. I'm the newly appointed president here at Palma. And for existing families, you've known me for the last 7 or 8 years as the Dean of Students here at Palma. And for new families here, I'll explain a little bit about what the president is here at Palma School. It's a unique position. You may have come from a school and may think that the president actually is a principal, and that's not the case whatsoever. Mr. Sullivan's going to talk in just 1 minute, and he's our principal of our school, and he handles every day-to-day operations when it comes to serving your boys and our families and our faculty. The president's, my role here is to provide any kind of financial structure that I can give and support to our school. Whatever the school needs, it is my job to help find the friends and the funds to make that a possibility. As well as with 69 years of history at Palma, thousands of alumni, and the relationships that we have with those alumni and our parents, I also work hard at making sure that we stay in touch, and because Palma was such a big part of their life when they were here. So to your question, Mr. Rico, as a new family, how will my son be accepted into a new school? You know, Mr. Sullivan and I spent a lot of time at this early on. Last year, when March 13th hit, we instantly on a Friday went from a very vibrant school, bunch of boys, to an e-learning situation overnight. And we were very, very successful for lots of different ways. But one of those reasons was that we knew your boys, because we were 3/4 of the way through the school year, and knew our boys. So when we went to distance learning, we already had built those relationships. So how do you create that? How do we come back when we start a year with existing parents already here going into new classes and brand new families that are here? You know, how do we create that? And I think we're going to do an exceptional job at that. Our teachers right now, which is really the magic of how we build this Palma brotherhood, really comes from our faculty and staff and admin that know boys extremely well. We know how they think. We know exactly what they need. They know when to be pushed, and they know when to be loved. And so we've spent a lot of time here in the last few months, really talking about how we're going to open up school. And so our teachers, as you've already seen, have reached out to our students at home. Our core leadership has already reached out to our new students to welcome them into the Palma Brotherhood. That will continue to happen. You're going to have more communications than you've probably ever had before with your teachers and with other students as far as a welcoming factor to the school. Our teachers in the last few days have been talking about what other things can we do outside of a Zoom classroom where these boys can meet and do things, clubs, where every teacher's trying to, you know, what can we put together in the off hours that these boys can all get together. Campus ministry is talking about how can they do safe, socially distanced activities that we've done for years and years and get the boys involved to do that. So I feel that we'll do an exceptional job at that point. And for the new families out there, our existing students are very, very welcoming to new people, and you're going to feel that immediately right away. I'll say this, that I do make you this promise that when as fast as we switched over from a regular school to an e-learning platform, when the time comes, I promise you, when the time comes and we're able to come back here on school grounds and school's able to open, Mr. Sullivan and our entire staff is going to make that happen just as fast. We want your boys here as much as possibly can. I promise this culture, this brotherhood, this Palma legacy that's lived for 69 years, you'll have to be able to experience within the walls of 919 Iverson Street. But I have great faith that we'll make that happen. Thanks, Mr. Rico.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dolman. We have a
really quick. Sorry, we have just upgraded our webinar feature to go up to 500 because I noticed that we were limited to 100. So sorry about that, guys. I see already it's up to 115. So
yeah, anybody trying to log in and people that are text messaging other folks, you are now able to log in. We have upgraded and we can have more than 100 people now on the live chat. So if you could let anybody that you know that wants to join us, Mrs. Secundo, they're able to do it one more time. Okay. Another question that keeps coming up, and I think Mr. Sullivan, it would be appropriate if you answered this one, which is kind of like the elephant in the room here. Why can't we do in-person learning? Why must we follow the rules of the county if we're a private school? Can you go ahead and take that one, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Rico. For those of you that are new to the school, my name is David Sullivan. As I've been introduced before, I've been principal here at Palma now since August of 2008. And it's a wonderful place to serve and work and be. Got some incredible young men here that are going on to do some great things, and we have a good track record to show it. The question, why can't we simply do our own thing? Why can't we go in-person learning? We're a private school. We're a Catholic school. The auspices are different, aren't they? Yes and no. Yes, we're different. We can control virtually everything we teach, everything we promote. We can create, for the most part, our own criteria. We choose to comply with an awful lot of UC-approved course guidelines, AP-approved course guidelines. We want kids prepared for the next level. So we choose to do those things. we're not required to. However, when it comes to matters of public health and safety, we are in complete compliance with the norms. And those norms are dictated to us by the CDC, by the local health department, by the public health department, and of course by all auspices of government, local and beyond. So when it comes to fire drills and earthquake drills and dropping cover drills and lockdown drills and hostile intruder drills, Palma is well prepared. And now we are preparing for distance learning because that's the only option that we currently have. I've also heard, by the way, that families have learned that there are waiver processes, and that's true. And I wish that were true for Palma School. Our entry-level grade is 7th grade, and unfortunately, the way the waiver currently reads, the waiver is for schools to petition, again, the local authorities for the opportunity to return to in-person learning if they are serving students in K through 6. Anything below K, that's TK preschool, operates on a bit of a different norm. They've been in session since this whole thing started. They are essential learning outcomes for the most part. So when it comes to waivers, we don't qualify. We're not in that camp. And even if we were, the Monterey County Health Department announced last week, they don't see any Monterey County schools, unfortunately, being able to captivate on the waiver process. So even if we did offer a K through 6 school, because we reside in Monterey County and because the caseload of infected positive cases for COVID are what they are, we would not be able to qualify at this time. So we are in it to win it with an unparalleled education in the best that we know how. We have a great track record to show it, and we're improving on that track record. We've had a great few days here at school with our teachers, capitalizing on what they've already been doing in terms of professional development over the last couple of months. And confidence is very, very high that we're going to deliver a product that we can be proud of and that your boys will be proud of. We were one of the few schools over the last spring semester that had graduates actually earn their diplomas. And they worked hard for it, and we lightened our restrictions to a certain degree, but we certainly didn't do pass-fail. And our kids are going to be prepared for the next level. So hope that answers that question. Thanks for asking it.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan, for that. Mr. Villarengo, we have a question from Anthony Giamonco. And his question, I think, would be appropriate for you. How quickly will Palma transition back into in-class learning or in-person learning once Monterey County is off the watch list and back to school is approved?
Thank you, Mr. Rico. Once again, I am Rob Villarengo. I'm Vice Principal. Just to give a little overview of my role here, as Mr. Dahlman and Mr. Sullivan have done. I oversee curriculum, I oversee scheduling, many other aspects. You should have been receiving emails from me frequently throughout the summer with updates. I sent one last week, and I even sent something today that I'll talk a little bit more about in a bit. But in regards to the transition question, how quickly we can transition back. The schedule we designed was designed with going remotely in mind and also with hybrid learning in mind. So if we were allowed to come back with just guidelines of having 6 feet of distance, limited numbers, we can use that exact same schedule that students are already going to be familiar with to transition back as quickly as possible. We do not have to reinvent the wheel here. All summer long, we were planning to have some in-person learning on campus when it was allowed, but realizing that some families, for whatever their circumstances, maybe they needed to quarantine, maybe they didn't feel comfortable coming back because of the vulnerable population that they lived with. So the schedule was designed to accommodate both remote instruction and in-person instruction. So what I'm saying is we can transition back as quickly as it's permitted and safe to do so. I imagine because of the planning and the size of the school, we'll be a lot more nimble in doing so than a larger school would be. So as quickly as reasonably possible, once, as Mr. Sullivan said, the guidelines allow. Currently, they do not allow in-person instruction until 14 days after the county has been off the watch list. And since the numbers are only going up right now, there doesn't seem to be that happening relatively soon, but when it does happen, we can transition quickly.
Thank you so much for that clarification, Mr. Virengo. Next up, I have a quick question on a new job role, or we were wondering, can you please introduce yourself and please explain what is the role of the Director of Student Life, Mr. Narayan?
Thank you, Mr. Rico. So as the newly appointed Director of Student Life, I'm actually kind of giving my introduction and also answering the question in itself. And the role that I have is really to be present for the boys in all facets of campus life. Some of those things will include, I'll be the director of the ASB and class officer positions. I will direct campus activities. I'll be the director of activities, and I'll handle any kind of student affairs that may come up throughout the school year. That would consist, but it's not limited to, lost and found, lockers, communication with parents and students about anything that's taking place on campus regarding our campus culture, the life that we have going on here, clubs, things like that, and any other student issues. So I'm, in a lot of ways, I'm taking over some of the roles that Mr. Dahlman had held in his previous position as Dean of Students, and still holding the responsibility that I had with the Director of Activities as well. So we're kind of blending those two roles into one, and I'll be handling those issues with you. And I'm excited about the opportunity to work with all of our returning students and getting to know our new students as well, and new parents as well, because this place it's a wonderful place. I've been here for a long time. I graduated from here, and I'm excited to serve our boys as I've done in the past. So thank you.
And while we have you on here, I've been getting a couple of questions in regards to what is the dress code going to be for virtual classes? I know that's kind of right up your alley. So if you could go ahead and take that one before we move on to Mr. Bishop.
I saw that pop up, and dress code is always a big thing for our students, for our boys. As far as it goes, students are not going to be required to be in polo shirts online. What we do ask from our boys is that they come prepared and have some semblance of a routine throughout the day. So for example, they may wake up with time to take a shower, have breakfast, put on an appropriate shirt. Maybe it's a polo to prepare them for when we do come back on campus. And so we have that available, and it's an appropriate shirt. They're sitting in an appropriate space inside the house, ready to participate within our class with no distractions. They have no backgrounds that would be a distraction or noise or anything of the like. We're asking that students set goals for themselves. It's no different than being on. We want them to have that same ideal of building themselves and having these goals throughout the day, throughout the school year, as long as we are online. We want parents to be involved, asking questions of their boys. If they need to send emails, and be a presence in your son's learning from home, just like you would be if they were on campus. And all of those things we consider to be what it is to be a Palma gentleman. And that is what we are asking for our boys, is that they've come, as I explained there, as Palma gentlemen to their classroom, whether it be online or whether it be present in the classroom.
Thank you so much, Mr. Narayan. We have another question here. This one is for Mr. Bishop here, and it reads, how do I sign my son up for sports when that time comes? Can you go ahead and take that one, please?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Rico. Once again, my name is Mr. Bishop. I am the athletic director here for both high school and junior high sports. When we get back to even we're not playing sports right now. There will come a time, hopefully soon, that we will get back to playing sports. In direct answer to that question, we have an online program that makes it easy to get all of the paperwork turned in and the appropriate information that I need to get your son signed up for sports. And just to let everybody know, I'm going to have a athletics specific only webinar in September. but we'll advertise, we'll do it kind of in the same format. And I'll really dive into how to sign your son up for sports, when sports are actually start up again, what the fall will look like from a conditioning standpoint when we're able to get back into that, and just all of the changes that have kind of been thrown at us, both high school and junior high. So that's is going to be an entire webinar in itself. So I've answered that question. It is fairly easy to sign up online, but I'll go into more detail when the time comes. I will now, for those of you planning on playing sports, go ahead and schedule to get a physical. So you haven't and it's done. They're good for a year, and don't wait on our webinar in September. If you can do that, I'll go ahead. So thank you very much. I look forward to meeting your sons here in the future.
We have a question here. I think this one would be for Mr. Villarengo, and it reads, we received Joseph's class schedule today. Can you please, which days are considered regular days? The general schedule that shows red, gold, and flex. Can there be more clarification on the schedule?
Sure. About an hour before this webinar, I did send out schedules. Before in the summer, students, families got course lists so that they could use them to buy textbooks. This schedule actually shows periods and the instructor names and classrooms for when we do return to campus for classes. Students, I did send an explanatory note with the schedule, so I hope most of you would read that as well. But just to explain briefly, red days are Mondays and Thursdays, and gold days are Tuesdays and Fridays most weeks. What that means is on the red day, when you look at the schedule, periods 1, 2, and 6 will meet on the red day. And then on the gold day, periods 3, 4/5, because when they're here at campus, period 4 is a high school period while the junior high have lunch, and period 5 is a junior high period while the high school have lunch. We don't need to deal with those logistics in a remote schedule. So period 4/5, they meet, 3 and 4/5 meet on the Tuesdays and the Fridays in the morning, and then in the afternoon, then is period 7. Also on Monday and Thursday, there's a 0 period that meets at 7:30 to 8:55. They're not, a lot of students do that. There's a few electives that run out there. So you would see that labeled on 0 period. And then there are a couple of evening classes, and instructors will be communicating directly with students and families about the meetings for those days. That they're going to start on Monday, August 24th, while the first gold day is August 20th, and the first red day. The first red day is August 20th, and the first gold day is the following day, the 21st, that Friday. I also saw that there was a question about the break between classes, the 5-minute break. We've been talking about the last few days about how to really structure the Zoom classes so that there isn't Zoom fatigue, about mixing up the activities, about allowing break time within the 85 minutes. And even at the end of class, perhaps the students will, one of the calls in the surveys we sent out over the summer was more opportunities for students to meet individually with teachers. So by extending the expectation that the teacher's available for the 85 minutes, perhaps the class could end and the students could be sent off to have a break or do their homework at the 75-minute mark, and the last 10 minutes are to meet individually with students. So please understand that's the meeting time of the class, the 85 minutes, but it's going to be structured to allow for breaks both within and toward the end. And then of course there is an hour break for lunch between the 2 morning classes and the 1 afternoon class. As far as the flex day, again, trying to explain a little bit more about that in our frequently asked questions page online, and also in the email I sent with the schedule. That day is for a combination of asynchronous learning for those students that can enjoy that privilege and show that they're responsible, or another opportunity for students to meet individually with teachers during those scheduled office hours. So yes, on the schedule, it's called regular day. And when we returned to in-person classes, we typically had 6 classes a day, and that would be a regular day. But the flex day schedule is following that, that period structure. so that you'll know that if you have questions about your son's period 3 class, the teacher's available during that time to meet. Some teachers have also, with enough notice, would ask their classes to come in or specific students to come in to review. And we're also working with the counselors to meet with students during that time. They typically would go into theology classes, for example. The senior year, they would go in once a week and talk about college counseling. That's the time to do that. So on the Flex Day Wednesdays, that's when the students would be getting that type of counseling. So I hope that answers some questions about the schedule. As I said, in the information I sent with the schedule, there's far more detail, and then you can certainly email me if you have further questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Villarengo. We also have another question here. Are the textbooks being sold through Palma available for purchase? If so, how do families purchase them? And then that kind of ties in with the other question that was also asked about iPads. When are the iPads required? If Mr. Villarengo or Mr. Sullivan, any of you either one of you want to take that one?
Well, sure, I'm happy to chime in, and Mr. Sullivan, you can follow up if I leave anything out. Over the course of the summer, the textbook link was sent out several times, including with the course lists. So I'll send it out again. It is also available under quick links on our website. I see that many families have been accessing the page and purchasing textbooks. At Palma, being a private school, we don't issue textbooks per se. Families do pay for the textbooks. So for the most part, you'll be buying those directly and they'll be shipped to your home. There are a few that the publishers won't sell to individuals, and the school did have to purchase them. They often come with an e-edition as well. And those will be available. Our intention is that those will be available for pickup during the orientation days. So we'll have them here ready to be picked up then. Mr. Sullivan, if you have anything to add to that.
Sure, if I could just add, Mr. Villarengo is saying, yes, that the book list is available under quick links, and he's already sent those out to you. It's very important when you sit down to look at that quick links that you compare it with your son's course schedule, because the books are all listed by department and by course. And if you find your son's schedule, you can cross-reference it with the book list. That way you order the right book. I have had new students before order a calculus book for a geometry class, and that could get kind of sticky. So make sure you get the right book that way. It's very important that you order 2 weeks ago because books may already start getting on back order. So our teachers do a really good job of working with students who have difficulty with that, but you don't want to wait long on those books. I hope that helps.
Raul,
Thank you, guys.
it did occur to me that there was a question about iPads that I didn't address. When would they need an iPad? While we're doing at-home learning, they can use whatever device allows them to sign into the Zoom class. Palma is an iPad one-to-one school, so you would want to be prepared with one when they return for access to ebooks. But if there's a challenge with the iPad with your student, if he's having trouble managing that, we can work with that and give some ideas about how he can be successful at Palma.
Thank you so much for that. We also have another question. We have, how are science labs going to be conducted, or are the boys going to have to do no lab in chemistry class, for example? And is there a status update on the vacant Spanish 3 position?
I guess I would take that one as well. So how are labs going to be conducted? Creatively, there are certainly most of the science books come with an online portal that have virtual labs. We'll be using those for the time being, but our teachers can get creative and do labs with items around the house. Nothing explosive. We won't ask for anything explosive, but they are exploring the science department creative ways to do labs for the time being. All classes, we've been talking about how to make them more interactive and project-based. There is no intention that classes are going to be 85-minute lectures that students are simply listening to and then taking multiple choice tests. I think if there's any positive benefit to this situation that we find ourselves in, it's the flowering of creativity that I've seen in our teachers. as they work for diverse ways to reach our students. And this is really what's setting Palma apart. You're going to see that creativity and that personal attention in the instruction that's coming up. There was a second part of that question, Mr. Rico. What was that? Oh,
it was about the Spanish teacher. Yeah.
We have about a dozen applicants that we are in the process of interviewing. So I thank anyone who sent us leads. We've been pursuing leads as well. We have every intention that that position will be filled by the start of classes on August 20th.
Thank you so much for the answers. And just to add to what you were speaking about our teachers and how much of an amazing job they've done and the hard work that they're putting in the summer, doing all the possible training, all the possible trainings they can in order to give every Palma student an enhanced experience and set us apart. I do have a question here that I think would be appropriate for Mr. Sullivan and Mr. Dahlman, and that is, some private schools are reducing tuition costs for online schooling. Will Palma follow this process?
Well, I guess, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Wow. To be honest, I hadn't thought about that question until now in terms of being able to answer for it, but I would like to say this. I know that public schools are providing remote distance learning for their schools. And to date, I don't think anybody's asking me to pay less in my taxes for next year. I think we are providing the kind of product at Palma that's going to require our teachers to go above and beyond in-person learning. I mean, in-person learning is the desired option for not just for your families, but also for us, because frankly, it's much more organic to communicate in person than it is to be able to do it through a screen. So to that end, our teachers have worked really, really hard. In some cases, I've heard feedback from our parents that there's more collaboration going on among students and teachers on a remote platform than they normally have in a classroom. Kids feel more comfortable being able to contribute in meaningful ways. So there are advantages, I think. By and large, the tuition that parents pay for their son's education at Palma is directly correlated with teacher salaries and compensation. So to offer a discount at the affordable rate I believe we are currently offering now might require me to actually cut positions. And that would require us to sacrifice our product even further. I don't think we're in a position to do that. If families are feeling a pinch, if families are dealing with crisis and tragedy, Palma has always been in a position to show families who can demonstrate their need opportunity for a leg up. And we will continue to commit to that. And I can't think of anybody better than my new boss, Mr. Dahlman, in going out to make sure that that happens. He's very committed to providing a solid education to families in need. So I hope that helps to answer that question. Maybe Mr. Dahlman, is there anything you can add to that?
Yeah, yes, please. To echo that thought, I have heard of schools in the area offering even a 1% discount. And for us, I haven't approached that as a thought. As Mr. Sullivan had said, to give rebates at this point with our teachers, the large majority of our budget is toward our teachers, and I think they're incredible, and I would not want to hurt from that product. And in fact, I think we've probably had to invest more in the last couple of months, knowing that this may be a reality, with extra staff and support and technology to bring to that. So to Mr. Sullivan's point, as he said, if there was a hardship from families right now about tuition, please reach out to us. We care greatly about you and your families and your sons, and you've committed to us here at school to be a part of your son's life and help raise him with you. And please reach out to us if in fact you have questions on that. Thanks, Mr. Rico.
Thank you for all the encouraging messages that we got from people advocating for the hard work that every teacher is doing, not just in private, but in public school as well. So thank you so much to those families. Another quick question that came up twice already too is, what is PE going to look like? Are we going to have a CrossFit challenge? Is Mr. Narayan going to go back to his CrossFit days? Can somebody take that? Who wants to take that one and how we're gonna have PE work for the next coming school year?
Well, it's a curriculum question, so I can at least start, and then those in the coaching realm can chime in. We've actually invested in an online curriculum for PE. Mr. Carnazzo is the head of our PE department, and he and the rest of the PE teachers have been planning over the last few days exactly how that's going to look. So I know it's going to be active, it's going to be interactive. Yes, it's going to be remote, but there will be challenges for students to complete. We are going to get them, it's an opportunity to get them away from the screen. So please look for more information coming soon. It's not just going to be a free period for students. So if anyone else would like to chime in Mr. Bishop, I know you've been part of the planning
Yeah,
process.
so we won't do anything with PE closes and PE locks as of yet. As we get closer, and we're obviously monitoring the situation, and it looks like we're going to get the opportunity back on campus. I have a plethora of PE clothes in stock, so the turnaround time will be quick. You'll get something from me as we get closer to turning back on campus, so kids can get those, because obviously. Same with the polo shirt. We're not going to require your sons to be in PE while they're distance learning PE.
Also, Mr. Rico, we have discussed with some of our teachers about the possibility of clubs being a part of that and getting kids active through Zoom in clubs and doing different workouts as well. So that is in the process of working its way out. Whether I lead it or some other CrossFit certified faculty members do, it's up in the air on that. But we are working to definitely, we want to take in the physical aspect of our ISOs on campus as well, and that's another way to do that through clubs.
Thank you all so much for that. Mr. Sullivan, a quick question for you. Will Parents Club be meeting via Zoom this next coming year?
Yes. Access to the calendar shows Parents Club meetings. Those were submitted. I'll be honest, I need to reignite conversations with our executive cabinet with Parents Club. They're chomping at the bit to get started, but we have every intention of fulfilling Parents Club meetings by Zoom at the time specified on the calendar.
Thank you so much for that. We got another question here. My son is currently signed up for symphonic band. Will there be any virtual outlets for these boys to perform at some point this fall or even the spring if the football season is delayed? Similar questions for Jazz in this case. He wants to try out for both of those classes.
Mr. Uccello has been our band director for a number of years, and one of the again, I hesitate to say that it's a benefit of the situation, but he was going to leave us, but because there aren't as many opportunities for in-person performance, we're blessed with his presence for another year, and he's been actively planning how the band classes are going to work. They are going to continue to meet. He's already emailed me some proposals for days. He's been dialoguing with me about plans. So if you're interested in the music program, I would definitely encourage you to reach out to him directly. His contact information is on our webpage, and Mr. Uccello, the band director, and he can explain to you exactly what the program is going to be. They are going to look for opportunities for performance, for practice. Certainly it's a little far to project into the spring what opportunities might be, but we'd like to see these guys come together and perform before the year is over, that's for sure.
And to add to that, we had a Disneyland trip where kids were going to perform among other schools down in Southern California this past spring, which obviously did not happen. We negotiated with the company to defer that particular trip to the coming spring. So right now on the books, we already have a concert performance that is scheduled to take place. I think it's in April of 2021, God willing. So, and we are very grateful to the seniors in that group who donated the cost of what they took care of there. They gave that donation to future kids to be able to contribute to that. So it'll be, that trip will actually be a deferred cost and less money for students who have to do a little bit more affordable trip. So I hope that makes sense.
Thank you so much for that. We have another question here. How will you or how can you give tests when teachers can't monitor students? This seems to be a tricky problem.
Academic integrity is going to be a real focus of the first days of class and even beyond. I've been talking with the teachers that we're not going to dive in with instruction on day one. We're going to be setting the scene for robust learning for the year. So hopefully buy-in is going to be a big part of it. But again, teacher creativity, which I already discussed, is going to be a big part of it. If it's just a test that you can ask the answer for to the guy next to you or to the person you can text, that's probably not the most valid way to assess under these circumstances. So there are other ways, project-based learning, inquiry learning, performance standard-based learning, where they just are showing that even one-on-one conversations, just so that they can explain their understanding of the concept. We are aiming for deep and lasting understanding of the core key concepts, not a lot of busy work or tests that you can cheat on. Now, the flip side, if there is an academic integrity issue, it usually is readily apparent because the work is either it doesn't align with the expectations, or perhaps the student can't explain the logic behind his answer. And then we will follow up with that. Teachers will be contacting home. We do have an academic integrity process that we follow where they're documented. And if the students accumulate enough of them, there could be consequences. But we aim to prevent that by having robust conversations about integrity and buying into that process so that students feel that internal value of doing well and doing to the best of their ability.
You know, Rob, to that, can I add to that point? It's a great, the question is right. Is it difficult to monitor this from a teacher in a classroom with 30 boys who are online? It absolutely is. But I also look at it as an opportunity as a parent right now to be able to talk to your son as we talk about academic integrity and talking with your sons about just doing the right thing, especially in the face of maybe when everyone around you may not be doing that. Those are great opportunities to have conversations with your boys about that. And going to Mr. Villaringo's point, you know, we do have a process that we'll go through, but, you know, talk about it early with your boys. Say, hey, this is going to be a reality. This is going to happen. You're going to be offered this. How are we going to handle this? Those are great conversations to have on the front end, and how your son handle these hurdles as they come at them. So, you know, sometimes with difficult situations, we have great opportunities to do this. So I recommend that you have conversations with your son going forward.
Mr. Villaringo, we have a question for you specifically. You were pointed out on this one. How will orientations work? Do I, as a parent, need to come with my child, or how long will my son be here for orientation?
The orientation schedule was pushed out last week. We'll be pushing it out again. Probably need to reconceptualize what you're thinking about in terms of orientations. It's not that we're going to have them assemble in a hall and talk to them for a while. There's certainly value in doing that, but it's not possible under the current circumstances. You'll notice that the orientation timelines have been broken up by groups, by last name. So please look at when your last name is scheduled to come to Palma. It's the entire thing will be outdoors in our parking lot. We invite families to come park. We'll have a physically distanced line, markers for them to stand, to go to different stations for meet and greet, for distribution of materials such as the school ordered textbooks. There'll be ID photos taken at this time so that we have a record in our database of the students. ID cards will be issued later. Typically, these are also used as yearbook photos, but we'll see how they turn out. We understand haircut places have been closed for a while, so we'll see if they're suitable for that. But at the same time, you asked how long the orientations would be. I would say plan on being here for no more than a half hour for the physical part of the orientation. That you would come to the parking lot, get out. It would be almost akin to just going to the grocery store, in that you're stopping at several locations. We're not going to take you inside a classroom. We're not going to talk at them for some time. It's simply not allowed right now. that'll also be followed up, at least for our new students, all ninth graders, including returning ones, but there's a fair number of new ones, and seventh graders, they're all new, and new eighth graders with an online core orientation that's also on the flyer that went out. Those are going to be done virtually in the afternoon of the Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. So please look for those. And then the first few days of class, the first red and gold day, will be more orientation. We will communicate expectations. Do parents need to accompany? The parents are welcome to accompany. I would definitely recommend that if you didn't want to get out of your car, you just stay in the car. Don't leave and come back, because the orientation is not going to be that long, not the physical in-person one. And if you're uncomfortable coming for whatever reason, let us know. Reach out to us and we'll make alternate arrangements for you to get the materials. And if you can't come during your time, also let us know and we'll set up an alternate time for you to come.
Thank you so much for that answer. We also have a question here. My child will be home alone due to both parents working. Will teachers be able to communicate if my child is not logging in on time or logging in at all? I am really concerned. Mr. Sullivan?
Yeah, I'm nodding because we did a lot of that over the course of the quarter, the fourth quarter. And when I say a lot of that, 10% maybe, Mr. Dahlman, of our student population was having some issues. That quickly, that 10% window went down to 2% very fast. So we worked with families. By and large, students who really struggle with that might have other issues that are going on, connectivity issues. Those are usually warning signs for us to reach out and figure out how we can connect better with kids. Working parents can expect to receive phone calls from us. We have all your data, all your phone numbers. We can text you, we can email you, we can call you, and then you in turn can communicate with your son about what's going on as well. But we are a boys of promise to men of character kind of school. So our first line likely will be directly with the student and get him on track. And if he needs some accountability factor, then we will quickly be communicating with parents. Hope that helps.
We have a couple of questions from senior parents asking, this has come up multiple times, when will we be receiving senior information and yearbook photo deadlines?
I presume that means that we're talking about senior portraits coming up for the 2021
Correct.
class year. Yeah. We had some detailed information that I believe was placed in the August edition of the Palma newsletter. And that was emailed to all families on July 31st. It's also posted on our website. We are relaxing our deadlines because we want to be able to provide a meaningful yearbook experience for the class of 2021. I don't expect yearbooks to be printed before May as they have been done in the past, which means that families will be able to wait longer if needed to schedule those senior portraits. All things senior portraits, I would encourage families to reach out to Miss Pagliaro. She is our yearbook editor and in charge of making sure that those deadlines get met. So.
And then another question people had is, how do they sign up for Parents Club, Mr. Sullivan?
By nature of the fact that you are a paying customer, a Palma parent, you are already in the club. There's no need to sign up. Simply show up to the Zoom meetings. I think we'll have to figure out how we can post those in a really public manner so that parents can contribute to that and be present for that. But the more the merrier at those meetings. So thank you for that. Good to see you there.
Another good question is going to be, during orientation, do kids need to be in school attire, meaning Palma dress code? Mr. North?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take that one. We are asking that our boys do come in dress code and with and properly groomed as best as possible. Obviously, we do know that haircuts may be an issue at this point in time. And the reason for that is they will be taking their photos, their ID photos, and we do want to have those in their Palma dress code. So with the polo, with their being clean shaven and with their hair trimmed as best as possible for the circumstances that we're in, because they will be taking their photo for their ID card that will be given to them when we return to school.
Thank you so much, Mr. Narayan. We have another question here. Will there be virtual masses offered on certain days?
Yeah, that's a great question. We just learned just a few days ago that our local ordinary, the Bishop Danny Garcia, is allowing places to congregate in terms of worship outdoors. So churches, schools with chapels, etc., will be able to perform masses outdoors. We're excited by that. Of course, there's a lot more ramifications to that, parameters that we have to keep. Students will still have to be 6 feet apart. Masks have to be worn. We have to be very methodical about how we cohort arrival and dismissal times. So with all those particulars in play, we don't currently have something scheduled. Thankfully, the first holiday of obligation isn't till December during the middle of the week. So we hope and pray that families will continue to go mass virtually as they are right now, or however they're doing it in their places of worship. But in the meantime, if parents were to access the campus ministry portion of our website, they would see that we have a link direct to San Carlos Cathedral. And there will be daily masses offered there by people like Bishop Brian, Bishop Garcia, Father Ron Shirley, Father Patrick Dooling. I know I'm missing the pastor's name, great guy, Irish Broke. They celebrate Mass on a daily basis, and we're hoping to encourage students to attend that virtually so that they can continue to nurture that. We've got some exciting service opportunities coming up too. Mass is very important in terms of worship, but putting that worship into practice is as important. And so we will have some exciting opportunities coming up there through campus ministry as well. For the older students who can drive, or for those students who have parents who can drive them with them. So stay tuned. There's a lot of good stuff coming up.
Mr. Villarengo, question for you. Can a family substitute PE with our own exercise training locally?
Well, that's something I'd have to look into. I can't answer. That's not a question I've considered before. As I said, we do intend to have a meaningful PE curriculum. So any additional exercise I'm sure is beneficial, but to get credit at Palma, students have to participate in our program. I did see another question about PE 9A asking about athletic credit. So if I could just dovetail and answer that. Because we don't know the status of athletics going forward, we anticipate they'll begin in the second semester, but things could change. Ninth graders are enrolled in the PE class this year. It's expected that they're attending that class just to ensure that they have the credit necessary. Half of them will be taking it this semester, half of them will be taking it next semester. That's alternating with health, and you'll see either the health or the PE class on your son's schedule. The second year of the PE requirement, a new change that was instituted this coming year that kind of got lost in the shuffle a bit because of the other circumstances, is that the second year of the PE requirement will be fulfilled for grades 10 through 12. Grades 11 and 12 have already filled it because they took 2 years. But this is new for grade 10 and going forward, grade 9 as well, that a year of athletic participation, any year, 10, 11, or 12, will fulfill the second year requirement now of PE. If a student chooses not to participate in PE and in athletics here, the other way to earn that credit is to take a PE, health or PE elective their senior year. So this is a way to streamline our schedule a bit in a way that I think is the best interest of students. You see that the E classes are starting at 9 now. When we go back to in person, we were still going to start them at 8:30, finishing around 2:35, and have been able to remove the 8th period to have a standardized start and end time that I think is going to allow for a more relaxed morning for students. I think that's in their best interest. We know that teenagers are often nocturnal, to allow for fewer early dismissals from the period 8, which many students were seeking to avoid anyway. So by moving the second year PE requirement to athletic PE, it's going to allow for that. 10th graders, if they can't do it this year, can do it 11 or 12. Whatever year that they participate in sports will count for that second year of PE credit. But all 9th graders will be taking PE this year.
Thank you, Mr. Villarengo. While you're still on here, we have a question about schedules. And when can people request schedule changes?
Well, that was actually in the information I sent out with the schedule today. You can request schedule changes by contacting the guidance counselors for the high school, A through K, Mr. Giamanco, or L through Z for Miss Short. So send them an email, give them a call. I'll handle middle school changes myself. So if you have any schedule requests, please do read that schedule, the information that came with the schedule today that was sent out around 4:30 today, and you'll see how to request a schedule change. Schedule change depends on availability in the class, that the section isn't impacted, and that it coordinates with the other courses in the student's schedule. And they need to be requested by August 28th. So you've got just over 2 weeks to explore that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Villarengo. We also have a big time football coach here with us today, Mr. Jeff Carnazzo. And he's letting us know that the PE program will be using an app called Plat4M. So if you want to check it out, it's PLAT4M, and that he says it's very excellent, and that's what the PE department will be doing. So thank you, Mr. Carnazzo, for that. And a question that we have here is, Mr. Sullivan, maybe you can answer this one. Has there been any consideration of substituting confirmation class for theology class?
God bless you. If we could do that, a lot of things would change for us. I'm not sure if I'm interpreting the question correctly. Confirmation classes per se are the workings of the church, and they are under the auspices of our local ordinary, Bishop Danny Garcia. I think I've been arguing for 18 years with the diocese, pleading is a better word. Would you please allow our Catholic secondary schools to finish the sacraments of initiation with confirmation in their schools? And I've been unsuccessful since. If the question is saying, can we just bypass theology and allow students to be in their parishes in confirmation programs as a substitute for theology, I would take exception to that, simply because as a former confirmation director working at Madonna del Sasso School with 170 kids in a 2-year program, there's no way that confirmation class getting together weekly or biweekly even comes close to the kind of theology instruction that we offer to our students on a day-to-day basis here at Palma. It just doesn't, it doesn't meet the requirement, in my opinion, which is, by the way, the reason why I think confirmation should be offered in our schools. So if the parent asking that question, please help me petition the diocese. We need parents to let our bishop know that they want these sacraments to be done here in our school. As a parent of 3 boys in a Catholic elementary school, it's very important to me that my boys have an opportunity to practice their sacraments and to be given those sacraments right there in their own Catholic elementary school as well. So as a parent, I really understand the argument, and I'm supportive of it. So if you have more thoughts on this, parent, please email me. I'd love to help you with it.
And it is the year 2020, so this question is very appropriate for this calendar year. Regarding the dress code, what type of mask color are the boys supposed to wear? Mr. Narayan.
In terms of when we come back on campus, we are actually looking at the possibility of purchasing masks for our boys that have a Palma logo on them, and even possibly a way to put their name on those masks, because we know how boys lose things quite a bit. But as far as masks go, we are not necessarily saying you have to wear a certain color mask. We want you to be masked. We want you to feel comfortable on campus. And if that is bringing your own mask, then by all means, we would love that. But we are looking into the possibility of purchasing masks for all of our boys on campus as well. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much. And we're actually right at the hour mark. So thank you everybody that joined us today and filled in your questions. I know that not every question was answered, So we do have a record of them. So don't worry, we will send you an email and we will try to answer as many. You can also check our website. On the website, we have a lot of these questions answered under the FAQs. So please check out that website. Some of you know me already, Mr. Raul Rico. A lot of you know me from admissions when your son enrolled here, or if you're new from you just met me a couple months ago. But anything that you have, I could be a great resource too. So just send me, bombard my emails. These people are too busy already. So just bombard me with phone calls or emails, and I'd be more than happy to get the answer for you if I don't know it off the top of my head, or if not, get one of my colleagues to help me. But thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We had 198 people, right, Mr. Cunha, at one point on here, which is really good. So thank you so much for making Palma the great institution that it is. Thank you, Mr. Dahlman, Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Villarengo, Mr. Narayan, and Mr. Bishop. Thank you guys for joining us. Really appreciate it. And to all the teachers that were also here showing some support, thank you for that. And like I said, if you have anything else, please let us know. Thank you so much for your time and have a great evening.
Thank you, Mr. Rico.
Thank you.
Thank you, Palma
Good night,
family.
everyone.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.